Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to episode 4 of the SSF podcast. I don't have a name for this. It's going to be interesting, is all I'm going to say to you. I'll leave
Yes.
it at that. I am Backtastic Jessica Haynes, and I am
Oh.
joined by my Highland cowgirl.
Emma Jackson. It's not my thing. They're making it my thing. It's not my thing.
You told me now, that's Emma's thing now.
I'm gonna have the Highland cow in the background.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do
just
it
all
when
the
we take
time.
the break. I'm gonna bring it round and put it
And
here.
just stick
It's
it on her.
very cute. I do like them, but I find
Yeah.
lots of animals cute. So
Yes. Well, if you have a cow and I have a bat, then we can fit into that niche.
that's it. I can see that.
Mm.
Now I'm just picturing like a Highland cow with this little bat like perched on
Yeah,
their
just perched on it.
horns.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very Halloweeny.
It's like some kind of Disney film. It would just be whispering, you know,
That
it's
would be hung upside down.
Pumbaa
That
and
would be
Timon, isn't
fantastic.
it?
They need better names than that, though. They need like really epic names.
Yes. Okay. Um,
But yeah,
yes, we're here.
we're here. We're not sure how this is going to go because it's an interesting week for us this week.
It is. We picked a tricky one for ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Did I suggest this or did you suggest
No,
it?
I think this is your nemesis that we've
Is it
pulled in and
me?
we've nemesised
Oh,
together.
okay. Yes, it's Love Triangle. We did mention at the end of last week.
We did
So
indeed.
we have attempted to find some books to recommend that have love triangles in. And also, I think it would bear saying that we're probably going to be discussing the ins and outs of Love Triangle and why it may work for some people and may
Just
not work for
not for others.
others.
Yes.
Yes.
But yes, we try and keep it to an hour-ish, and I think it'll be 10 minutes of books and just the rest chatting.
Yes, maybe.
We'll
Okay.
try and do 50-50 if we can at
We'll
least.
try. It,
Mm.
yeah. I don't know whether to go for like addressing some of the things beforehand or doing it as we're talking through the books.
I think they will come as we chat,
They'll
honestly.
come as we chat.
We'll
Okay,
come
we'll
as we
we'll
go.
leave it organic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Let's go then.
If you wish to stay and join us.
Yes. We are back. We have a
We are
bat
back.
now and a cow.
Yeah, and the cat and the bat. We're all in. Let's
Yep.
begin.
Oh, you've got yours too. Oh, I
I
didn't see that one up there. Oh, I've got a bat too somewhere, but I don't know where he's
see.
gone. Hmm.
By the end of episode 6, we're going to have just like a menagerie, aren't we? Just
Yeah,
surrounding
we're
us.
just our little faces here.
Because we're all the toys. All right. So we didn't do the best job of selling this to you in the intro, but we are there and here and we're going to get it done. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is makes sense because
Yeah,
I did enjoy my book.
this is it. Like when we did, it was the Secret Baby one in the last
Mhm.
trope season,
Yes, it
wasn't
was.
it? Which was like our, oh my God, why have we done this to ourselves kind of
Yes.
thing. And yet we found ones we enjoyed. I was
Mhm.
close to not finding a secret. I say that. The secret baby that I found was only a secret for like a few pages.
Well,
So I
and my
don't
secret
know.
baby ended up being a teenager by the time it actually
Yeah.
picked up.
But
Still,
we made it work. We
well,
made it
this is it.
work.
We have parameters, and because it's our podcast, we can just go, yeah, and they go,
Hmm.
which I will be using liberally through
Yeah.
this episode.
I did think maybe next time or for another type of episode, if we think of a trope that both of us are like, oh, I don't really do that one, and I find that one a struggle, we should maybe invite someone in
Oh,
who
who
either
does
writes it
it?
or loves it, you know,
Uh-huh.
so that we can hear them speak in defense. No, not
Yes.
like that.
Yeah,
Oh
that I
dear.
like that idea. That's very good. Or
Yes.
maybe just, yeah, pit these two against each other.
Oh, Battle of the Tropes.
Yes. I
Yeah.
like it.
More ideas. What
So
you
many
had an
ideas.
idea before, didn't
Secret
you? We were
Santa
talking about
that I'm
Secret
still
Santa for
on
our Christmassy one.
Christmas.
Right. Okay.
Who's going first?
Who's going first? It's so bad that one of the books I haven't even finished reading yet.
Okay.
But I will say that is because it came out this week, the
Ah,
week we're
okay.
recording, obviously,
Yes.
on Tuesday. So I've only had a couple of days and I am
Mm.
almost finished with it because I am actually really, really enjoying it. I'd seen it was coming out And I was like, oh, that actually really fits. And um, yeah, so I can go for that one if you want, because I've started chatting about it anyway.
Get started, so I'll finish. Yeah.
So it's a spell for Heartsickness by Alistair Reeves, and it is a paranormal romance. There is a witch called Briar, and in this world, they do like kind of 4 years of apprenticeship as witches. It's kind of like university, and then they get a placement for a year where they can either join a business or build their own business using magical things. So magic is out in the world and people use it. Um, Now Briar is he, oh bless him, he's got a curse on him, which
Oh,
is a wasting disease kind of thing. I know it's terrible. His
starting
mum
well.
had it, and because it's a
Oh,
curse, it passed to him. So his mum died 2 years ago. He is pretty much on his own, apart from his familiar, um, who is just a little magpie, and she's brilliant.
mm.
It's lovely. Magpie is an odd one to have because you think immediately, well, that's bad luck.
Yeah. And then it steals things, and you're in
Yeah,
so much trouble.
but she's brilliant. But yeah, he's been like he has to have this special like milk thistle potion, but he has to pay for it, and he doesn't have really much money, so he's scraping by. And the magic in this works via a system. Now, this is where I learned that I've probably been saying something wrong for my entire life in my head. Do you say tithe or tithe?
Tithe.
See, it's tithe in my head. I don't
Oh,
know
is
why.
it?
It's just I am very aware that I'm probably wrong. It's one of those words I've always read and never really said. So,
Yeah, mine would have been probably hearing it first and then just following
yeah,
on,
this is
regardless
it.
of whether it's
So
correct or not.
it's done in this system where you have to have something of value to balance the magic when you do a spell. And something, the rarer it is or the more valuable, the more powerful you can make a spell. So he struggles because obviously people with more money can get hold of more valuable things to sacrifice it. You have like apothecaries that are filled with stuff, and you can buy what you need. But he was in a city as well, so you can't exactly like forage for some of it because it
No.
can be like natural things. Like sometimes when his magpie loses her feathers, he can use those. It's like natural stuff. But what he's taken to doing, which is kind of taboo, is he'll give a flesh tithe. I can't speak.
Nobody noticed. It's fine. Carry on.
Nobody knows, it's fine. Just carry on past that. Where he'll draw a rune on himself, and when he does the spell, it will burn away a bit of where the rune is. So he's like scarring himself.
Nice.
It's not good, but this is how desperate he is.
Yeah.
Um, Now, for reasons, he misses his kind of graduation ceremony and where his placement's going to be. He really wants to be sent to this particular city so he can try and build up a business as like doing enchanted clothing, fashion design sort of thing. Um, but he finds out afterwards that there's been a prophecy that one of the witches who organized it has had this prophecy come to her, and he needs to go to this tiny little village out in the middle of
Oh,
nowhere, surrounded by forest and immense wards. And in order for him to find out the details of the prophecy, again, there's that balance, and he needs to pay with his silence. So he can't ever speak about what the prophecy is. Um, and it's to do with uh, his destiny is to go there because there is someone who has a cold heart or a missing heart, a heart of stone kind of thing that and people they all know this person, but people can't get close to them. But then someone arrived. It's really funny when she tells him this prophecy. She's like, and then there's this stupid person because he's thinking he's the person that people can't get close to, and then he's hearing more, and he's like, and there's this stupid person who just doesn't pay attention to the fact that you can't get close to him. And he's like, hang on, am I supposed to be the stupid person? What's going on? And then that connection will make the heart turn golden. So, it's typical vagueness.
Yes.
But what I really enjoyed about this is it immediately that's like the premise that gets him there, and the mystery that's pulling you through it is how this prophecy is going to work out, who it applies to because of the love triangle. Because he arrives there, and the alderman is this uh, man called Rowan, who um he like kind of supplies a ward, and he's connected to the forest, and he's this just massive gentle giant, but for some reason people don't are wary of him, and he thinks, oh, maybe it's this guy. But then uh the other witch that arrives, because they usually host two of these for the year of being able to build their business, is Lyndon, who's this famous fashion designer who used to be a healer. And he turns up, and he's got like the shop next to Briar's, and he's very distant because of his fame, and Briar can't read his aura. Briar can read auras on people. Not everybody can do that, but he doesn't seem to have one because he hides it behind like a talisman to protect him. So he's like, oh, well, it could be this guy. And he's into the fashion, and he wants to like build a business with me. But then he starts this relationship with Rowan because he just kind of can't help it.
Mm.
And it's, yeah, it's really, really good. There's even more stuff going on. Like the town's obviously been affected by something. He can see these like wounds of magic around the town, and his flat is haunted, and everyone, like all the other witches that have lived there, have just put salt down so that the ghost can't come. But Briar is so like he's so lovely, and he doesn't do that, even though she's thrown knives at him the first time they meet.
Mm.
But he's like, I'll try and help you. And Gretchen, she starts to talk to him, and he figures out a way to help her get out of the flat so she's not tethered there. And then they start to like unravel some of the mystery as to how she got murdered. And and then when he goes into this forest, he has this experience with the the magic that seems wrong, and he makes kind of a deal to try and get this special lichen to make a potion. But the forest like almost kills him, kind of thing. And it kind of tells him that it's in some way connected to the curse that was on his mum and that is on him now. And he's not got long to live either. This is one of the things that's like it's meant to be like 8 to 10 years when you find out you've got this curse. It affected like loads of witches. Something happened and it affected loads of witches.
Okay.
Um, so it's like a known condition almost. But while Briar's there, it seems to be accelerating. So he
Oh,
thought he
okay.
had, it's
Yeah,
been two
more.
years. He thought he had maybe six more, but it's getting worse. His symptoms are getting worse. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, and
Okay.
I'm
So
just,
you don't know how it finishes yet, where
no,
he, ah,
I know. And this was the tricky thing. I was like, so much of Love Triangle is whether or not I enjoy, because I do enjoy some love triangles. Some of my favorite books have love triangles in them, but it's like you got to know how it's headed, and like who you want the
mm,
person to end up with,
yeah.
and how does that work with the prophecy. But I think the reason this one I'm enjoying it, like I'm enjoying it anyway, because it's really well written and it's great stuff going on, and it's got
Hmm.
lovely cozy atmosphere and brilliant magic and characters. Um, but the love triangle is like front and center, that's like the problem is him having these two paths and not knowing which one to take, following his heart or following his head, and what the consequences of that will be for him. Because he kind of thinks if he goes one way, he may end up dead,
Yeah.
like sooner. And if he goes the other way, then he's not going to have love in his life, but he may
Yeah.
live longer. So,
Yeah, the choices. Yeah, I found that with my book, the choices that they
mm,
have to make to get, yeah,
yes.
something always big is hanging on the end of it. It
Hmm.
isn't just the case of, well, you go with this one, you can live on that road. And if you go with this one, you can live over there and it's a bit warmer. The
Yeah.
choices that are stuck with each person, not stuck, with each person are epic choices to make.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think if you can buy into the dilemma, because it's usually quite obvious which one you want as a
Yes.
reader. Like you'll have a preference
Hmm.
generally in a love triangle. I guess not so much in like, why chooses and stuff like that. It's not that
Yeah.
because I can have them all. It
Oh,
doesn't
all of them,
matter.
yes.
But yeah, if you can buy into the dilemma, because I used to think when I first started writing notes for this, I was like, maybe I don't like him because it feels like someone's always going to end up sad.
Yeah, this is it.
Well, see, you're nicer than me because then I realized, no, it's not that. I don't care.
I'm not
Just,
that invested in
I
this bit.
just,
That's
I just have to feel like the dilemma is a real dilemma. I have to feel the tear between the two for whatever reason, whether it's because sometimes you can look at, like in this one of the choices I look at and I'm like, he can't, that's not the one.
yeah,
But I can see why Briar keeps feeling like he needs to go in that direction. So I can understand it, so I can buy into it.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think if you can understand that, then a lot of the behavior of the characters isn't as annoying. So, you know,
yeah. I just, oh, yeah. So mine, I won't go into it. I'll probably forget it by then. But yes, you finish your bit, and I'll. Yeah,
no, that was
is
pretty
that you
much
done?
that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Okay. So if I jump in, it's gonna be to the end. Okay. So my book is
Hmm.
it's the duology, which I may confuse things because I read
Oh yeah.
all of the
Hmm.
second one yesterday. So I shouldn't have done because everything is now all over. So it's These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And so
Didn't
it
realize that
starts.
was a love triangle.
Well, this is it. Yeah. So we delve in and we have when you said your name, I'm like, mine's called Bree. We're not far from each other. So I'm all about the Fae. I've been singing that all week. All
Ah.
about the Fae, no monsters.
Hmm.
And again, we have the Unseelie and the Seelie, and just because they always do, they're bickering with each other. We have the
Yeah.
Seelie, who is Arya, I believe, Queen Arya, who is like the light side, and we have, dude, just so many names. Mordius, who is the king of the Unseelie and the darkness. Again, with the balance, the light and the dark have to stay together. Mordius took the crown from his brother Oberon, and there's just been infighting between the bits and the pieces. Oberon was supposed to marry Arya. There's been all sorts of problems between the two. That's just kind of,
Okay.
yeah, because there always are with the Fae.
Yeah, they live a
But
long
we,
time. It's,
yeah, this is it, hundreds
gonna
of
cause
years. They have
problems.
to pick a fight.
Hmm.
So we start with Brie and her sister, who it's a bit of a Cinderella story to start with. They live with their aunt and her cousins, and they are basically cooks, cleaners, maids, everything.
Right.
Their
Hmm.
mother dropped them with their uncle and aunt at the time to run off with a fey man of some supposed high origin. That's why she couldn't take the kids. So she hates the Fae. She's not great with her mother, especially when her uncle dies quite soon after they've got there. And then,
Okay.
yeah, her and her sister are just put to servitude. And not only that, her aunt puts a bill on to sort of say, well, you're still living in my house, so you'll do all the cooking and the cleaning,
Oh,
and I will
Jesus.
charge you for what you're doing
Wow.
within the house and any food that I give you.
Mm.
So basically, they're racking up a debt. And within the human world, that does seem to be a thing. The higher people, they can have blood debts to people. So
Right.
lots of people have sold parts of themselves off to others. So her and her sister, who is Jas, live with their aunt. And yeah, her life isn't great. She's learnt to steal. She's always been at one with the darkness. The nighttime is her time. So she's quite a good thief. So she's running around stealing money and trying to pay off this debt as much as she can. But
Hmm.
one night she gets this haul to try and kind of pay another few months off and get back some of this interest. Because anytime she misses a small increment of payment, she adds a chunk of interest and the debt never goes. But she steals this chunk of money and then finds her friend's young daughter has sold parts of herself for when she gets to a certain age to this man to get money for
Jeez.
her mum.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, I've got no choice. She is a lovely, she's got, yeah, she's got the feels for people coming out of her ears, but she doesn't see it that way. So she gives this money over and knows she's going to go back and she's got no money to pay. The only light in her life is a young mage who is an apprentice to the chap next door, whose name is Sebastian. And he turned up a few years ago and she's got this massive crush on Sebastian, as you would with a name like that, a Sebastian.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he's kind of like the only light that she's got. She crushes from afar, doesn't really want to go
Okay.
anywhere with it. But yeah, so she goes home and it turns out she goes out to see Sebastian because he can only do certain amounts of time. So he apprentices for here for a year and then there for a year, and he's leaving soon to go off
Right.
and do another part of his training elsewhere in the country. And she goes to say goodbye to him, and then one of her cousins comes up and gone, I knew you were going to be doing that. Perfect timing because mom has taken your younger sister, sold her off to some chappie to pay your debt.
Oh my
And yeah,
God.
she's paid off yours as well. So we don't want you in the house anymore either. So
Wow.
Sebastian's going. Jess has been sold off to somebody and she has
Hmm.
nowhere to live, no money, no anything. And she's there by herself. And yeah, she's kind of in the worst possible position. But the houses have goblins. You can pay a goblin to work for you, and they've got epic magic. But they don't really they will work for people, but they harvest secrets. So they're very clever, nifty people, and they use their owners, so to speak, as much as anything. So
Hmm.
she goes to see this chap and gone, "All right, you were the one who would have taken my sister somewhere because they can like port to places with their magic. So
Okay.
you can pay them in something. Weirdly, they like hair and teeth and flesh and things like that. We don't ask, we
Hmm.
don't tell. And she's got
Okay.
this really nice red hair, so she gives him snippets of her hair. She finds out for some reason the king of the Fae, Mordius, has purchased her sister.
Oh.
And she
Hmm.
doesn't know why, but it's obviously got some link to her mother. So
Okay.
she needs to get herself over to the Fae and find out what's going on. Uh, there happens to be a ball to marry a human off to the Seelie Prince coming up because, as with most Fae things, they're not very reproductively placed
Yeah.
in the world.
Hmm.
They've just been unpleasant and they've lost that ability. So they need
Yeah.
humans to come. So she gets to the ball. She goes to meet Prince Ronan, I think, not Rowan. You had a Rowan, didn't
I
you?
had a Rowan. Yeah.
Yeah, she goes to meet Prince Ronan, goes to this ball and bumps into this silver-eyed chappie, and she's immediately drawn to him. And she's like, "Oh,
Hmm.
well, he's a very pretty chappie. He's not Sebastian, but he's very pretty." Yeah, so he's kind of there and he's leading her around a little bit, and she's kind of like, "Oh, Jesus, I've got to get to a portal to get to the Fey place. I can't be doing this."
Yeah.
So he leaves him behind, gets taken to Mordius, and basically she's given three tasks. She has to collect three artifacts the Seelie took from the Unseelie. So she has
Okay.
to get in with the Prince Ronan and try and get these things back. That's the only way that he will give her sister back to her. So she goes to try and become one of these betrothed to Ronan, only to find out that Ronan is Sebastian. So, yeah,
Okay.
basically, yeah, so Sebastian has been there trying to get out of princely life and live with the humans and learn new magics and stuff like
Right.
that. But
Yep.
she's
Yep.
obviously like, okay, that's not great. Very deceitful. I've got all of this stuff going on, but she doesn't tell him all that he'd gone. He doesn't know about the sister, and there's just so many secrets in this. So she's
It's,
there.
yeah. Sorry. I was just, it's that thing of like, if he knew she kind of liked him when he was Sebastian and then they like start dancing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Sebastian. And then when he became Ronan and like she's making Google eyes, it was like, oh, she didn't like me that much. You
Well, okay,
know?
yeah, they did share. I think there was nearly a kiss till the cousin turned up. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. just the earlier. Oh, it's YA. Probably should put that bit in
Oh,
at the
yeah.
beginning. So it's not,
Just, just
or
blur
I
that
think
out
it's a
halfway.
14
Why, hey,
plus.
it's
This is
very hard to find adult ones.
this is
It
something to
is.
discuss later because
Yes.
it's my Y-Tudes is on my shoulder with a stick, beating me like, but she can have the broody one and the nice one. Why
Yeah.
not both? But yeah,
Continue.
so
Sorry, yes.
no, so she's there and she's got to keep this secret about her sister and stealing things from the prince and his mother's palace. And she's kind of
Right.
using him to get to the things. Um, she's given a mentor within the Seelie Palace to kind of help her become more princessly. But the mentor is actually part of the wildlings and linked to the
Mm.
Unseelie. So she kind of takes her out of the palace and goes, okay, you can't trust anything that these people are saying. I get that things are happening, you can't trust them. And then you come and speak to our chap who's on the Unseelie side. And the Unseelie chap is Finn, the dude of the silver eyes.
Okay.
So yeah, she has basically the Seelie Prince and the Unseelie Prince, who are her two, and she's
Hmm.
got the 2 years of loving Sebastian from afar, even though he's deceived her. There's still that initial thing that she's got with him, but with Finn, it's all very instinctual. There's a something, and the darkness that she was quite good in as a thief, that kind of gets worse and worse and worse. It gets bigger for her. She doesn't like the face, she doesn't like the powers, so she doesn't like this darkness that's there when she learns that it is
Okay.
unseelie powers. And when
Hmm.
she's with Finn, this thing becomes bigger and more honed. And yeah, so it's basically the back and forth between the two.
Right.
So she's still with the Seelie trying to get these items to save her sister. She goes back to the Unseelie who are tweeting in a way about how awful the Seelie are. And yeah, it's just twists and turns all throughout it. And
Yeah.
each one is trying to get her for one specific reason. And the king is trying to do it for the same reason.
Oh
So every
God.
single person is lying to her.
Oh,
And it's just, yeah. When it gets to the end of the first book, something happens and it's like, oh, okay, how are you going to get out of that? And then you get into the beginning of the second book, and it's just the rug is yanked, and it's like, oh, that was bam. So yeah,
yeah.
it's very good. But the problem is when you get to the end of the second book and who she actually ends up with,
Did you
it's
not
kind of
agree?
like it was just like I could see both parts. One was doing
Yeah.
it for their people, and one had slightly more selfish reasons behind why they wanted to
Hmm.
keep her with them. But both of them have been told from like birth that this is their God-given right. They are fae, they are princes. This
Yeah.
is your birthright. So you can kind of see all sides of it.
Yeah.
And they both lie to her and they both, they're in very similar veins of what they've done to her. And
Hmm.
it's like, ugh, I can see why you've gone with that one,
Yeah.
but why you disregard that one who does love her. And he's kind of, yeah, she just doesn't love him as much. And it's like, and it's a different sort of love in the end. And it's like, oh,
It's that, and I think that's what's like makes it frustrating, particularly in YA ones, because like you kind of when I would read them, you'd kind of be like, neither of these are great options. So,
no.
and you're very young. Continue and find someone else.
Yeah.
Tell them both to take a flying
Well,
leap,
this is
kind
it.
of
If you
thing.
kind of mention things to people, I mean, the initial jump is to go, well, there's Twilight. That's the
Yeah.
perfect fit. And there's the Hunger Games. That's the perfect fit.
Mm.
And you can quest, yeah, why either of them? Peter, get rid of Peter.
No.
Oh, were
This
you, were
could
you,
be the thing that it no.
were you,
No.
were you Team
No.
Peter?
Yes. Yes, very
Peter.
much so. Yeah,
Who
how
was
could
the
you even
dude?
consider Gale?
Oh, neither of them. I want, who was the dude? Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch, you're the one.
Which, yeah, if you rewrote it in adult version, that would be because it would be like the mentor and the student. You totally
Yes,
get that. He's
I
a
am there
drunk.
for
Yeah,
Finn.
let's do it. He's
Yeah, just leave both
wounded.
of them at the
Yeah.
gate and shut the door.
No, no, I loved Peter. Sorry.
Peter.
No, I can't be doing with that. But then
Oh,
we
with
don't
his loaf
agree on
of bread.
Twilight either, do we? Were you
I was
Jacob?
Edward.
Oh, you were? Okay, we agree
Yeah.
on that
Oh,
one.
yeah. Yeah. It kind of ruined it for Jacob with the baby thing.
This
And
is
it's like,
it.
yeah.
Even if you had, how could you continue after that?
Yeah, he
Mm-mm.
just didn't. So
No. Yes. I mean, this is this is it. Most of my trauma from Love Triangle does come
it's
from
from some stems from
YA.
there.
YA.
Yeah, mine is that it is all YA and that there's so many other options.
Yeah.
Take it up to NA or adult and then just
Yeah.
plus one and another
And it
one.
was like one of the things that I was thinking about, like how it's okay if you can buy in, if I can buy into it and feel like the dilemmas are reasonable. Like you're saying, with you can see both sides with the two choices, the two
Hmm.
heroes. But like, if you can't, if it's not done in a way that you can see it being feasible for her to end up with either or whatever, it lends itself to a lot of annoyance and a lot of
Mm.
petty behavior, which is quite
Yes.
tedious to read. Like, I'm not a fan of jealousy in books. Like
Yeah.
I know like some, like that possessiveness you get with like alphas and stuff. Ugh.
Mine.
I know. See, you like the
I
mind.
like the mine.
I don't mind the mind, but if it goes too far with the possessiveness, and they just and then it becomes just a pissing competition between the heroes. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If it's heroes. What I haven't come across, I mean, obviously my last one is a love triangle with three men.
Oh, yes, it
Um,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, all
I
the
prob
women.
is all
Yeah.
women or even a man with two women he's choosing between.
No.
I don't think I've come across that
No.
so much. So
I think because both of the women just go, is he really worth it? Should we
yeah.
not just go out and get a cocktail and find two different ones? And I'm like, yes, we
Well,
should.
there's that, and there's the fact that it normally ends up being, if there's another woman, like if
Yeah.
they've got a girlfriend or an ex-girlfriend, then they're written really badly usually,
It's
aren't
gonna be
they?
catty or yeah.
Yeah, and it's just not fun. Like even worse than, because men get away with worse behavior than women. We
Of
know
course they do
this.
with
We're
all the
much
things.
harder on female characters because we're harder on women generally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I'd be interested to find one that's like that. They're
Yeah,
different
please send us
setup.
a,
Yeah.
yeah. Love it.
Yours, we've managed to do it again. It's like
Is it
flow
an interlinking?
because yes, it is. You can see behind me, Law of the Wilds, which is Annalie Sabrana. I think that's how you say the surname.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. It's not YA, but there is a lot about it which has similar. It is very familiar in that YA kind of structure because,
Hmm.
like yours, it ends on a cliffhanger at the end of
Oh,
the first book. The second book I don't think is coming out until early next year, maybe.
cool. So not too long to wait.
Not too long to wait. And it's Faye. And
All
yeah,
about that fee.
yeah, I have to say, right now, I don't know if it's been picked up upon, but I'm not a massive fan of Akatar. Um, it's all right.
If anybody's known, yeah.
It's just not it's not my
But not
favorite.
your
I
thing.
don't rave about Akatar. Um, I've not read further than the first book. So, but it so much of this is also got huge Akatar vibes,
Okay.
like the setup and stuff like that when I like explain it a bit. But not, I guess, I don't know. I guess if people are looking for that same thing that they enjoyed about the world and some of the like the fae, how the fae is comes across and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
some of the story elements, like in no way am I saying this copies Sarah J Maas, because we know that's not how it works.
Okay.
We're literally doing tropes. We know tropes appear
Yep.
and they appear in all
Yep.
different
All the time.
ways.
Hmm.
But it's like, so Law lives in this tiny human town called Duskmere, which is landlocked by Fey land around it. It's a human settlement, and they don't know how it's come to be that they're there. They've got like in their oral history, their stories that they tell and stuff. They feel like they came from another realm, like another port, like a portal or something. It's a magic that went wrong. They've got stories about like a mischievous god or a vengeful god, and they don't know how the humans came to be in the Fey realm, basically. But they're in this tiny town, which is surrounded by forest, and the Fae have sentries there to stop them from getting out. And, they massively treat them like dirt. And, um, they get punished
Makes
if they
sense.
try to escape, and they don't get a good flow of food, and, merchants can't come through, so they don't have a good economy. It's really, really hard living in this place. And obviously, and they don't have magic either. The Fae have magic. Um, she's experienced trying to escape herself and been punished for it and got like scars because they have like poisoned blades, so the scars stay. Her parents are both dead. Her dad was killed by one of the Fae sentries when he was, I don't know, I think it was an argument that they had. I think her mum died later, but she was raised by her aunt and her uncle who um they run like an orphanage. And so as she's got older, she helps out there and she helps in the apothecary. And she loves writing in her journal and telling stories. And she's like fascinated by the magic. And she would love to be able to help her people, basically. If they had magic, they'd be able to do that, or discovering how they ended up there. Um, and sometimes she like copies these few books that they've got so that they can share them amongst the town and stuff. And one day, two Fey noble walk into the apothecary, which is just really unheard of, very, very rare that they come in. They pretty much only see the guards, and they're after like a gift or something, and they see this book that she's painstakingly written, and she's been able to do it in like the Fey language because she's had these other texts and been able to read it and stuff. And one of them's like, oh, that's really interesting, and he buys it. um and she manages to like get quite a lot of money for it, and she's feeling quite pleased with
Nice.
herself because she's like terrified because they're so horrible to humans
Mm,
and there's nothing they can do about it, but she still manages to push it a little bit to try and like up that price. Yeah, it's really,
oh,
really rare, really expensive.
you're in for a penny, yeah.
It's nothing to them, but she was really like, oh my God, they're going to catch me and kill me in a minute. um but she gets it. She gets his money. She's like, oh, what we can do with this, that's great. And then an earthquake hits the town. I know.
You do.
Which devastates everything. Um, and while they're like they're trying to put stuff back together again, and they really don't know how they're gonna manage. It was bad before, and now it's even
Yeah,
worse.
10 times worse.
These guards come and they're like, we want either the owner of the apothecary or their assistant. Yeah, they've got to come with us into the Fae realm. She's like, okay, well that's
Oh.
me, because she's not going to let her aunt or uncle go.
No.
Um, and they take her through, and they go through this forest, and she realizes that there's like a spell on the forest which makes them feel like intense fear. It's part of the thing to help keep them in. And then you cross over, and then you're in like the Fey realm. And she's taken to this palace, and it turns out there's a library there which had magical charms put on it so no Fae can get in.
Yeah.
um
Oh,
Aha. So that's why they need a human. But before, they were like, they wouldn't have used a human because they didn't think there would be any that would have the knowledge or the skills to be able to go into this library, catalogue it, bring out what they need. They're clearly after something in particular.
always the way.
And she, again, she's like, well, I'm not just gonna you've got this theory that a human can go in. We don't know. I might be struck dead as I walk through. I'm not doing it for nothing. You've got a promise to help out my town, rebuild it, take them the resources. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll make that deal. Um, and so she agrees to do it. It's a really funny moment because she's obviously very scared when she's going to go into this library for the first time. And at first, it doesn't seem like the door will open. And it's because she's pushing instead of pulling.
Rather than pulling it.
It's like, it's so relatable.
Oh, and he's fair looking like, geez, did we get the right one?
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic.
She
Oh,
just styles it out, goes
yeah,
inside.
yeah, meant to do that.
Yeah. And it's full of scrolls and magical books
Oh,
and, well, books about things that she's never even heard of, some of it. But she's got to like get a catalogue of these together and every day present like a list so that they can have a look and see if there's anything that they want brought to them. And, she's going to be kept there and it's going to take her a long, long time. And there's a guard that's assigned to her called Asher, who she starts to they warm to each other, even though he is Fae. Um, they have some moments and they build a friendship. But he's then sent off to for another purpose. And during this time, she comes across this book, the library, like there's this moment where she's kind of called to a particular book and it's blank inside. And she keeps it for herself because it's talking to her and she
yes.
smuggles it
Oh,
out, obviously. And
yeah.
it's got magic and she starts to experiment with the magic and stuff like that. Because obviously why wouldn't you?
Well,
Well,
this is
because the
it.
Fae will kill you, but
Yeah,
also why
but
wouldn't you?
also there's a book with that talks to you. Ugh,
Yes, I mean,
who wouldn't
yeah,
want a magical book?
magical library.
Mm,
Um, And one of the things she gets to do is she looks back, she gets like this magical spell which enables her to see her settlement, um, and see how they are. And she sees that the Fae have lied. Basically, they're not helping back
no, they do
there. It's
nothing.
just, it's
Losers.
terrible. Everyone's dying pretty much. Um, and her friend Gray has disappeared from there, who you meet at the beginning. And it was really lucky because that was one of those moments where it was like, if it was YA, he would have been the other side of the love triangle, but he's not, which is good.
Ah,
Another reason, which because we said last week, isn't it, that love triangle quite often gets linked to friends to lovers because quite
yes,
often there's
indeed.
some friend that's been hanging around for ages.
Yeah.
Never a good thing. Never
No.
works. Mm-mm. Um, See, that's Gale in Hunger Games, isn't it? The friend. Mm.
Yeah.
Um, so
It was Sebastian as well.
yeah.
Mm,
Oh, I see.
mm.
Hint there. Um, so she's like, well, I'm getting out of here and I'm taking my magical book and I'm going back to my settlement. And she
Taking
goes
my
to
book with
escape.
me.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
taking my book. Um, and as she goes, the guard that catches her is Asher, who's returned. And he's completely torn. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to. If he says that she was trying to escape, they're going to punish her. If he lets her go, they're going to punish him. But they're so long chatting about it that the other guards turn up, and then he defends her and ends up losing his. He has to run off with her and escape with her.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's a bit tense. And he takes them to an inn he knows. He says, look, we can't go back to your settlement because that's the first place they're going to look for us.
Obviously.
So we'll go in the opposite direction to this inn that I know where I've got these friends and I know they'll take us in and look after us. So you get like their journey and they get closer. So yeah, feelings are high during this journey. And then they arrive at the inn and there's twins, Isla and Finn, another Finn. Um, and Isla is just bubbly and lovely and welcoming, and Finn is not. He's
Yeah.
pretty grumpy. And obviously, he's the other side. So I'll leave it there.
Mhm.
But this one, like, it made me think like how far into the book before the second love interest is usual as well.
Okay. Yes.
How long
Yeah,
do you have to wait? You
okay.
know?
Well, that is a very good link to
Oh,
mine.
okie
Okay,
dokie.
everything you have just said. Seriously, we don't plan this. We
No,
don't.
it was like when you were talking about your one and you were like this with the Fae and
And
there's
this with
this
the thing.
one and there's this and I was
Okay,
like, right, same.
there we go. So is that it? Have you done? Because I have
Mm.
this one and one that I just want to kind of mention at the end, which are,
Okay, yeah, I've got one.
oh, you do. That's fine.
I've got like, yeah, one I can briefly mention. Yeah.
Okay, yes, so do I. But again, I'm taking a bit of poetic
Hmm.
license on it. Okay,
Okay.
what happens when you have a prince, the head of the guard, and an assassin?
Oh, fun times.
You have an eldest daughter who's very happy you've finally read this book, and B, you have a Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, oh
You have
no.
Throne of Glass.
Sorry, I read up to I think I started the third book in that one.
Well, this is it. So
Yeah.
the love interest is there. So we have Selena, who is the assassin, who is under the mines because the king of Ardalan has caught her for assassin-based stuff. And yeah, imprisoned her under the mines to basically work that till she's dead. She's only 18 at the time.
Mm.
However, we get the king of the guard, whose name I did look up, who is Kale, not Cole, not Kale, not
Oh, is that how you say it? Yeah, it's not
Kale.
how it's said in my head.
It's not at all in mine either. Kale. There's my 14-year-old telling me
Kale.
how to say these things.
Cabbage.
Um, Kale and cabbage. Kale and Dorian. We have the king
Tori,
of,
I know. I couldn't take it seriously.
bless him, old strumpet sort of person if you're British.
Yeah.
We have Kale and Dorian, the head of the King's Guard and the actual prince, who go to
Yes.
get her out because the king who imprisoned her for assassinating people wants to have an assassin on his books, basically.
Yeah.
So
Useful. Very
yeah,
useful.
there is a big competition where I think it was 24
Hmm.
unpleasant people. So all lots of higher up people or people who think they are higher up within the world are allowed to pick a champion. And all of these champions have done lots of tests and they're not the salt of the earth. They are the dregs of the earth, some of them. They are murderers, they are what is considered to be unpleasant. And they're all pitted against each other to find the one who can be the king's champion, who is basically, yeah, a glorified assassin and does whatever he wants. So yeah, we have the prince basically picks her just to piss his dad off. Dad has gone round. There was magic in the world, and
Hmm.
the king just wanted power and to remove the magic. So he goes and he takes over all of the places. He kills indiscriminately. He burns libraries, buildings, anything that will hold people if they are deemed to be
Mm.
magical. So yeah, he's tried to wipe out all the magic and all of the higher powers just to keep all of it for himself, basically. So his dad isn't keen on him. His dad, the son isn't keen on him,
Mm.
understandably so. So yeah, he's basically picked this girl to just really annoy his dad. Kale, who is his mate, is the king of the dark guard. He's the broody one, and you can see little snippets. I mean, I think it's probably like the second book that they kind of start properly having the feels out there, but
Mm.
you can see through the book the little things he does
Yeah.
where he gives her jewelry for things that she can't go to and he offers his swords to fight and you can see it's there and it's building as this thread, whereas Dorian's is a lot more. He's got all of these women throwing themselves at him
Yeah.
and she's the only one that actually gives him even the minuscule bit of challenge. He would
Yeah.
be there, but she challenges him every step of the way. So
Mm.
yeah, it was just it was interesting being with the YA and stuff again, which isn't my thing. And I did ACOTAR just because of wanting the wings and more stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was quite nice how it went through, and it was just the little threads of things coming through that I quite
Did your
liked.
daughter enjoy it?
She did indeed, and she looked in to do the next one, and then so I've not, but she's like, oh, there's a row. Is there another Rowan in it? She goes, oh,
Yes.
she
Oh,
gets
she
rid of
hasn't got up
one.
to those then.
No, so she goes, she gets rid of one, which again I found interesting with the YAs. It's kind of you can see there's more of a selfishness with things because I think when she gets to the end of this one, she becomes the king's champion. And she's like, well, what, Dorian? Well, since I'm the champion, this can't be a thing anymore because that's
Yeah.
bigger than this is. And it's like,
Mm.
okay, when you get to the more the adult stuff, it's not so much that way. It's kind of they understand the logic of making each other better and growing with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
Whereas with
Hmm.
the kids, it is a bit more of a divide between the two.
It's interesting, isn't it? The balance between kind of thinking what's for the best for more people or your purpose in life, and
Mm,
then understanding that how you can compromise with people
yeah,
in relationships. It's not so black and white, I guess, that, it's got to
morally
be this
grey,
or yeah. Hmm.
like it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
interesting.
so
You flew the flag, Sarah J.
I did.
Maas.
We did it and we've been through it. And yeah, so I think it doesn't even end with these lot being together. And the second book, I think, is more him, Kale, than Dorian.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
have
then
read the
there's
second,
Rowan's and
and then Rowan appears. I got the third down, and Rowan appeared, and I was like, oh. But that that does seem to be the thing that's kind of carrying over, isn't it? Like we were saying about when they appear or when that relationship starts to develop, and it can take a bit longer. Whereas I'm used to, it's not always, but like maybe that's the romanticy thing, like we're constantly getting this argument about what romanticy is and whether you can expect a happily ever after or
yeah,
not with it.
romantic fantasy or fantasy romance. Yes.
Yeah. And then there's romanticy too, because I think like we finally kind of got the definition between fantasy romance and romantic fantasy,
Mm.
but romanticy then confused everyone. Because it's like, let's just jam the words
We
together and now
just shove it
nobody
all
will
together.
know.
Yeah.
But because let's be fair, we know that it's ACOTAR that's kind of birthed this,
Mm.
even though fantasy romance has been around for ages. And I think because it has been kind of brought in by the absolute explosion of people loving ACOTAR, and a lot of those readers followed through from Throne of Glass, didn't they?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was massive. But that is YA, and ACOTAR isn't. And they've grown up into something else. So, like, they're not necessarily expecting there to be a romance arc that's completed in
No,
each
towards the end of
book,
it. Yeah.
and it's a longer thing. But like the idea that you don't even meet the love interest that they will end up with until maybe the middle of the
Yeah,
second
the
book or
next
something,
book.
that just blows my mind. That's not what I'm there for.
Yeah, no, no. By the end of the first book, I want all three tucked up in bed
Yeah,
discussing their favorite crumble
this is it.
flavors.
Yeah, crumble
Apple,
flavor.
obviously.
Yes, well, of course. Um, with custard or with cream.
Ice cream and cinnamon,
Mm.
hot and cold.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I go in to read a fantasy, this is the thing, like where it's romantic fantasy. If I go in to read a fantasy and then you get these other like subplots with romantic elements too, it's easier. But if I go into it thinking this is a romance, it does just make it all a bit harder.
Yeah, what you gonna get?
Maybe they're just more hardcore romance readers because it does really leave you with that feeling of, I don't know what's going to happen in this
Yeah.
romance. And I like the comfort of knowing
Yeah,
this is
I
the
like to know
person they're
where
going
I'm
to end up
ending.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people, with why choose. So, yeah, like the one that A Spell for Heartsickness that I'm reading at the moment is like, because there's also this prophecy and you can interpret it in different ways. And it's like at the back, is it this? Can it
Is
be
it that
seen
one?
like this way? Is it that way? And what's going to happen? And is this going to, it ends up, it's very, very engaging, but it also is worrying. I enjoy the experience of it when it's done really, really well, but I just don't necessarily pick it because it's just, low levels of stress for me, please, when it
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah, I don't need to sit and yeah, if I get a book that I want to throw across the room because of something, that's yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I know what we were saying. It lends itself to a lot of difficult behavior and bad decisions.
Which is life. We've made so many. I've
Yeah,
made
well,
many
this
bad
is it. I
decisions.
think this
So
is the problem. It's too much like life.
yeah,
We
I
don't want
read
that.
this to escape. That's why there's wings and horns. That's not in
Yes.
real life. It would
But
scare me if it was.
when it's done well, I really admire it and I get really engaged by it. It's one of those things. Like sometimes I stray away from romance entirely and I
Ooh.
will read maybe two non-romance
I
books a
stray
year.
away entirely for like 4 days, and I'm
Yeah.
I
And I
didn't
will
like
read
that.
them and I will think that was amazing. But now I'm going to read
And
60
now I need to know.
romances before
Just
I
to
pick up
cleanse my
another one.
palate.
Yeah, that's it. The cleansing of the palate.
Oh,
For sure.
shot a prosecco for you.
Um, yeah. So my other one that I'm going to talk about, just very briefly at the end, about as brief as you were with Throne
Yeah.
of Glass, is
Good.
because I mentioned it before, is Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match, which is a Sally Fawn book.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go into more detail with this because my book is currently being used. I have it actually in a physical copy, and it's currently being used to hold something up in our kitchen that can't be moved. And the ebook was too expensive for me to go, oh, I'll just buy that
On
so I
it
can
again.
reference stuff. So I don't even know the other side of the love triangle's name.
Oh, okay.
And I was going through my notes. I've got this little book that I keep like review notes in. And I thought when I was looking through to see if I had any love triangles, and I read through this and I was like, oh, that was
It
a love triangle.
is.
And I
Oh,
completely forgot it was a love triangle. But my notes were specifically that I quite enjoyed it as a love
oh,
triangle.
there we go.
So Angelica is Victor Frankenstein's sister. Obviously, this is a wacky retelling of it. And she's very lonely and she decides she helps Victor by doing a lot of the very fine sewing that you need to do with
Tiny fingers.
cadavers. Yeah, that's it, before you reanimate them. His experiments. But her side project is building the perfect man for herself because she's very lonely.
Oh,
Um, and she gets there and it works and they get Will. Um, I think it's Will. Yeah.
we're
And
only
he
sure.
and he doesn't remember anything about his life before. And obviously they've got this connection and attraction and a bond between them. But there is another guy. I think he's like a like a not a sheriff. What am I gonna something to do with law, I guess. I don't know.
Uh,
It's like Victorian era or something.
yeah.
And
He's a Bow
obviously
Street runner.
something, yes, something along those lines. And he's like, but she has a genuine like friendship and that, they've got chemistry, they've got genuine chemistry as well.
They've probably
So
got literal chemistry.
yeah, she got literal making the chemistry with one. There's some that's just like kind of metaphorical chemistry
Yes,
with the other.
metaphorically.
So they're both there, and again, it's like these two paths, isn't it? Does she pursue this thing with the man she's created? Because that has moral implications. They
Well,
don't even know
yes.
whether he has a wife and kids that he's left behind and stuff.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Well, he
this is
doesn't
it.
remember either, so it's not
Well, yeah, but
technically.
this is it. It was very interesting from that
Oh,
perspective. Sometimes the wackiest of premises will make you ask questions you never thought you would ask of
oh.
yourself. Like if you meet someone and you have the chemistry, but they have amnesia, can you pursue a relationship because you don't know whether or not they're cheating on their wife? I don't
I love the fact that we
know.
that we didn't stop at the sewing the cadaver together bit. That to be the questionable part of this conversation. That's
Look,
fine. That's
that's the bit that if you're picking up a book about Angelica Frankenstein, you know there's going to be
fine. You know what you're gonna
bodies
get.
and people. Yeah. Um, and yeah, so and then her other path is obviously a much more normal
Yeah,
relationship, I guess, with the other guy. So, and yeah, my note was that to
you did
myself
like it.
that
I enjoyed
I
that one.
actually enjoyed that. And that was what prompted me to reflect on how if I feel there's like a genuine dilemma for the person in the middle, like they're being torn between the two, then I can, regardless of whether or not the choice that I would want them to make is the more morally questionable choice, I'll enjoy it. My morals are very grey when it comes
We're
to
very, very
picking,
loose mammals.
yes, who they
Well,
want to be with.
saying about loose morals, my choice was just because there were so many, which I don't know if we're a hexagon or a pentagon with this one, but I'm sticking with the triangle to start with
Yeah.
because I love it so. So this is just however you know it, it's either the Southern Vampire Mysteries or Sookie Stackhouse or
Oh,
True Blood.
okay. Hmm.
So I like the books. Same as you. I've read them all several times and I didn't need them now, so they've all gone to the charity shop
Oh, I see.
a while
Just
ago. So
didn't have the text for the notes. I'm very
eh,
sorry if we
yeah,
are inaccurate in what we've
in certain.
remembered.
Well, this is okay. So it's I've gone for Suki and Bill and Eric just because everybody
It's the
loves an
main
Eric.
one, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. And it's sort of book 3, 4-ish. So it's Club Dead and
Hmm.
Dead to the World. I remember Club Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
when Eric's
amnesia
got,
as well.
yeah,
We've done it
Eric's got
again.
his amnesia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, I think technically her and Bill aren't together because
No.
he's gone off to somewhere with his sire. But they're kind of, the
Okay.
logic is they are going to get back together because of the lies between them. He lied about her and he's gone off to help her and stuff.
Mm.
And then, yeah, Eric, there's always been that thing with Eric, and it's like, ah, joking around and but then he feeds
Hmm.
her the blood, and then the dreams come, and yeah, you can see that it is there. And then when the
Hmm.
amnesia kicks in, it's like it is full blown.
It
I
just
really,
it
are
turns
you
into such
mine?
a puppy. It's
Oh, it
so sweet.
is. Seriously, if you'd read the books and liked it, and then you get
Oh.
this giant 6'4" chappy
This
coming
is
at
very
you,
good. Very good.
oh, fantastic. Yeah, so
Stop there
that,
though. After
yeah.
that.
But this is it. And then when it gets to it, and then Eric becomes a thing of the past, and Bill's gone, and then Alcide comes on the scene, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, she's still kind of with Eric, maybe, but then Alcide, and then in the book, she's got a were-tiger who's
Yeah.
got
Quinn,
massive
I
with
think it was
Quinn, yeah,
his name.
John Quinn with no hair and purple eyes, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And then there's Sam, that's full
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
and
Sam.
we just
See,
gloss
the
over.
friend.
Yes,
Go
but
back if you like Friends. The Friends to Lovers episode is available
is
for,
available.
for
But yeah,
better friends,
but
not
this
love
is
triangle
it.
friends.
Yeah.
They're
I
rubbish.
I stopped at book 4 on my reread because I try and then do book 5 and 6 and I'm like, it's okay, but it didn't get as bad. It didn't get as bad. It didn't get as good as 4. And then I get to the end and I'm like, I can't read the last one, sorry.
Mm.
I love you, but no.
I think I made it up to about book 5 as well, and then I
Yeah.
was kind of okay. I can't deal with any more love interests.
No, there's too many. We're
I
on a
don't think
hexagon. We're on
so.
an octagon now. We've no
Yeah,
idea where to go. But no,
yeah.
I
Oh,
did love the three of them. And you've got
yeah,
Eric was just fantastic. And you do get Broody Bill. It's okay. So
yeah. See, that's the
always made me
thing.
smile.
Originally, if it had just been like the three of them, I think originally in the past, I would have leaned towards Bill being the one I wanted her to pick. But
Really? Oh no.
yeah, but like if it was in the kind of format of, just a shorter series enclosed with just the three of them, I might have leaned towards that without all this development of Eric
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
their
in the
relationship.
beginning.
It takes time. It does
Mm,
take time for you
he
to
is a
grow to
dick at
like
the
Eric.
beginning.
Obviously, if you watch the TV series, there is added benefit of having someone to look at, which
Well,
might
yeah,
favor that character.
but then when you
Let's
get
be
into it,
honest.
it's like Eric and
Mm.
Pam. Now that would be an intro. Ah, she was
Pam's
class.
awesome.
She was.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm, and that's the other thing, like who you tend to go for and these like kind of romanticy ones, and it's almost like the first guy is not going to be the guy. It's become so you're like, why am I wasting my time with this person?
And there's so many books to read. My
when
TBR is bigger
there's
than I am.
and when there's such an obvious disparity between the one you like and the one you don't like, it that's where some of the frustration comes as well. It's not just the behaviors, it's why is this page space being taken up by this character when they
Nobody
could be with
wants this
when they could
guy.
be with the other character getting closer to the sexy times, you know?
Yeah, don't finish on the non-sexy type. Oh,
Yeah. And then
but
there's
there we have it.
betrayals. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to
Oh,
ask you. Like when it so obviously you get a lot of twists and turns and things with when you have multiple love interests.
yes.
Um, do you feel you can still class it as a love triangle if it turns out in the end that one of them was the bad guy after
All
all?
along. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say if she's got the feels there, then yes, it's kind of, or he, whoever the main one is
I
in
feel
there.
like if it's more dependent on them having the feels, the
Mm.
love interest having the feels, like has it grown genuinely so that there's
I
something
suppose
there?
it
Or
has
if they
to be
get to the
each, doesn't
end
it?
and if he's just like, yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
pulling you along the whole time and you know,
yeah. I'd say
because
you
then it's
have to
like
have each, don't
you've
you?
just ruined the love
You've just
triangle.
ruined all of it now.
Yeah. Mm.
You've ruined the book. You've ruined my day.
We love this.
I would. That would be sneaky. But then I'd want them to end up with him because he's the bad guy, and he'll come round in the
Yeah,
end.
that's it. Another book, please. Let it go on forever.
Fix it
Now, I do
now.
need to give a little shout out because you were doing YA books, and I, d-
Hmm.
I purposely tried to avoid doing YA.
It was really tricky to find ones that
It's
weren't.
really, really hard because as soon as you hear other interests, like other love interests, and it's adult romance, it's like, why choose?
Yeah, all of them now.
But one of the first ones that I really genuinely enjoyed was The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare of,
Hmm.
the what is it, The Immortal Instruments. But that series is so much better than The Immortal Instruments. Like I enjoyed it when I read it at the time, but like when I read The Infernal Devices, it's really good. Um, and there's a love triangle in that, which we were talking about before as well, and it kind of links in with chatting about how there's petty behaviors and stuff between like the kind of like pissing contest that goes on.
Hmm.
And in this one, the two heroes that the main character is like torn between, they're just they're like best friends. So, and it's not like in a track they do like genuinely love each other and they love her and it was heartbreaking that
Yeah.
they were all torn and in this position and it works out and I remember we were talking and we were saying oh in instances like that you're like well just all be together but
All
obviously you
together.
can't be gay if you're not gay so
Yeah. Oh no, don't do
it's
gay for
like
me. No,
no
no.
this is it like much as the reader is like oh, wouldn't it be nice if you could all just be together? I mean, they were in the way that they could be, you
Yes.
know. So I was satisfied, and that was good. And it's the only one that made me kind of feel like maybe I can do this love triangle thing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's ones out there.
Okay. So on the back of that, because we're probably overrunning,
Oh
my
yeah, sorry.
Arcana Chronicles, the Closely Cold one, is a love
Yeah,
triangle through the entire
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I think it would have been, but the last book was written quite recently. So I
Mm-hmm.
think she's had the opportunity to go, do you know what? I can sneak it in as a sort of
Maybe.
MFM. And she
Yeah.
just spoiler. She did at the end. So it went all the way through
Oh,
with this one and then this one and then this one and then this one. And then to get the last book, it is kind of all merged together. So I don't know how it would have
nice.
finished had it been finished earlier. But yeah, I love
Yeah.
that series. That's yeah,
Mm.
read that so many times. I've got it on audio and everything. So yeah,
That's
just the right
interesting,
book,
isn't
right
it?
time, right place.
Yeah. Like, is it a it's a really nice thing that that can be an option now. Like,
Mm,
you know, like traditionally published books will not be like, oh my God, no, you can't have a
you can't
throuple.
have two.
You can have a throuple. That's it. Or more.
Buy one, you get one free.
Yeah. Mm, I wonder how many of the book no, because they were YA, so they might not have
Just think of the children. Somebody think of the children.
but then, you can still have those feelings, but I think it's a little bit more complicated, isn't it? Um, but yeah, like some love triangles, would they have ended up being love triangles if you could?
If you
Like
could have, if you
particularly
didn't have
like
to.
vampires, you think about like True Blood.
Yeah. Oh God, they're all over
Whenever
everything.
you're reading like vampire books, it's always like they've slept with everybody
Mm.
at
And
some
his
point
dog. Yeah.
over the years. They're just friends now or they're enemies now, but they did live together for 100
Yeah.
years or something,
Yeah. In my bachelor days,
This
I
is
had
it.
this, and then in
So
this
they could
time,
have
I
all
had.
been together. So nice. That's yeah. So that's the conclusion of Love Triangle. It's just better together.
Yeah, I concur.
Yes. Right. Okay. We got through it. We
We
did
did
it.
indeed. We've had a lot to say, and we've got more. This is probably the episode we put the most books into.
Yeah, probably.
There we go.
Right. So next week
Hmm.
we're back on solid ground,
We
I
are.
think, with Bodyguard trope.
Stand
Yeah.
by. Yeah.
Which you've already kind of covered in this one. It's always the
Mm.
thing, isn't it?
Yes,
I've
I
done
have
as
had.
well. I've had one
Yes.
with a bodyguard too. Um,
They're just such good fodder, though, aren't they?
mhm.
Dirty protection. Oh, it's perfect.
See, that's the thing. I didn't think I'd read a lot of bodyguard ones, but I probably have and just not noticed.
Yeah, they're just snuck in there.
Yeah, that's it. So, yes, we will be back next week.
Yep, join us for it.
Yeah. Bye.